we took our 4 balls of clay that were each slightly smaller than the one before, starting with about 1 pound of clay, maybe a little bit more than 1 pound, all the way down to like less than half a pound of clay, and created these theoretically nesting pinch pots. We're not going to nest them right now. They could get stuck together and they could put undue stress on the walls or on the sides, or warp them or damage them. So we're not going to nest them at all actually until they're fired. Once they've been fired, you can try stacking them and see how they go together. But for now, we want to put some finishing touches on. If you have a red or blue rubber rib, you want to support the piece and perhaps smooth out the rim. So you see that sort of textured rim, that's just, it wasn't compressed there. So as we squoze, which is, you know, a word, as we squeezed up, we weren't supporting this part, so it became like looking like uncompressed clay. So you can pinch and smooth with the finger, or you can support and smooth with your rib. This is a Kemper blue rubber rib. Rib is the name of the tool, like the bones in your chest that protect your lungs, same word. And so the last thing we're going to do is finish up the rim, and then we need to decide if they're done. And they're not, I don't think they are. If they were done, then you could let them dry. They're small objects and they could dry uncovered. The larger the object, the slower you want to dry it, and you may want to dry it draped in plastic, like so. And then a couple days later, uncover it completely and then let it dry completely. Other things what we sometimes do when we're drying objects is we may turn them over, let them dry at the bottom, because you see how some moisture gets trapped at the bottom there because they're not exposed to air. But for now, we are going to keep these and we're going to experiment on these with underglaze and slips. So we do want to allow them to dry a little bit, but not dry them out entirely. So we want them to, for just like our pinch pots that we're making our sculptures out of, we're going to let them dry a tiny bit by placing them in the damp box. And put the lid on the box, and the damp box has a little bit of dampness to it, but don't wrap them super tight inside the box. If you knew you wanted to really manipulate the clay, then you would want them really wrapped with a couple of layers of plastic previous to going into the damp box. So once these have firmed up a tiny bit, and they no longer wiggle when we touch them, then they're ready for slip application, so surface design and texture.